Hello, and welcome in today's discussion or topic describing the internal theory or the existence theory or the concept of what existence is. When we first look at what exists and what doesn't exist, it starts from what we can see, what can we hear, and what can we determine and what can we record through the information that is given through the eyes, the mouth, the hands, the feet, and records to the brain. What is the definition of exist or existence? Existence is the fact of state of living, of having an objective or a reality. I'll repeat it again. Existence is the fact or state of living or having objective of reality. In order for something to exist, it has to live. In order for something to live, it has to have an objective. In order for something to have an objective, it has to have a reality. And the reality that we live in is what we see, hear, touch, feel, and know. It's reality. Everything you see in front of you is reality. Everything that you feel, where it's air, where it's moisture, or even down to the cellular level. Even though you can't see those things, it's part of reality because you can feel it. Everything that you hear, you cannot see. But it's also part of reality because you can hear it. Reality or existence is the fact of state of living that has an objective. The things that we see in front of us has an objective. Why do you sit on a chair? The purpose of that chair to exist is to keep you upright without using any energy. Why do buildings exist? The purpose of existence of buildings and houses is to keep you in shelter through certain temperatures and weather and climate, and to keep you stable and to keep you safe in your own habitat. Why do living things exist, such as plants, animals, and humans? Plants exist to keep us alive through oxygen, even provide us food to produce. Animals exist to keep the habitat in balance, whether it is to provide us food or to provide us a sense of companionship, or to keep the level of predators and non-predators from overpopulation. Existence is the fact of state of living and having an objective of reality. So when we say something exists, we are confident in saying that something is part of existence. Now, what about something that doesn't exist? Something that doesn't exist is obviously the opposite of this definition. The fact of state of non-living that doesn't have an objective, and that is not part of reality. Some things that doesn't exist would include superheroes, or something that doesn't exist would include, let's think of something silly. A two-headed dinosaur, a two-headed horse, a two-headed human, a three-headed monkey, or a four-legged anything. You use your imagination. All those things do not exist. Why? Because they have no purpose. Could we try to make it exist? Sure, you can get some genetically modified or mutated animals and put them together and sew them together and say, hey, it does exist, you're wrong. Yeah, you can do that. But would it serve a purpose? Does it have an objective? Or did you just try to play God? All those things that we mentioned, in order for something to have or to exist, it must be living or non-living. It can be non-living. It must be something that we could see, hear, or touch, or it couldn't be. All these different things contradict one another. When we first covered that, we must first look at the existence definition, and now we can go into the existence theory. Wait just a second. When we look at existence, we look at the state of something that we can hear, see, feel, and touch. We already established that. But when we see the existence theory, it starts with the assumption that people organize their lives around a limited set of existential milestones. We have cultural expectations, we have partnerships, we have important individuals, we have a precise articulation, we have structural factors, we have many different things that can contribute to our experience of an incomplete knowledge of existence. So the theory is that people somehow, in some organized fashion, in some way, organize their lives and give off cultural expectations through some type of accomplishment, through milestones with no actual complete source of information. And first we must understand that the culture and limited expectation to existence is something that is keeping us all in balance. So it comes with this example. If many people told you that I existed and you had no proof of my existence, and there was no way of getting in contact with me through your own physical eye or through your own physical resources, there was no way of getting in contact with me. And if there were people that were telling you that I exist and you did not believe, and those people that told you that I exist was a good amount of people, I've already won. Because if I didn't exist, and there are a large group of people that told you that I existed, that believed and followed my word that you say that I don't exist, I've already won. Same way with God. If there were even a fourth of the human population that believed that there is a God in Christianity through Jesus Christ, that believes this and lives the life according to the words that God has came up with and understood, the words that I see, that you see, and you believe that there is no God, but over a fourth of the population believes, God has already won. In order for something to not exist, in order to reach, something has to exist in order to reach others, to understand. There's no way God cannot exist and not reach out to people. In order for something to reach out to people, to change the mindset of people's livings, to change their way of thought and processing, in order to understand the difference between good and bad, God has to exist. There's no other way. If there is an understanding that Satan can take away your life, can take away your happiness, can put evil into your life and thoughts, God has to exist. It's just like saying the original source doesn't exist, but everything else comes after it exists. No, if everything comes after it exists, there has to be an original source. There has to be a God. Even Albert Einstein said himself, I want to read the minds and thoughts of God. I want to understand his way of thinking. Nobody can. We're not at that level. We can never understand that. And then we go even deeper and further into the existence theory of understanding that the contribution by no means are fully fleshed out a model, but instead attempts to sketch the alignments of the new way of looking at social order and action. In need of further development to realize the full potential in understanding social life. So social life is constantly being modified, it's constantly being put together, it's constantly being understood to the point that even today, in years of human history, it's still not fully developed. It's still not fully understood why we have social behaviors in a temporarily existence in society. It's still not understood completely. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't think it's ever going to be fully understood. The more developing years that we become, the more we understand different things, and the more things become that were hidden are revealed. And it all comes through one important word: experience. Human experience. Human experience and sociological perspectives. Human experiences that gives a greater sensitivity in the social life that we live in. Without experience, without recording, without any type of lesson, we will get further and further away from the truth or the core idea of social existence. There is no way that there is no source that we just spawned here, that we're just a bunch of NPCs, as what most people would say. For those you don't know, non-playable characters in some type of video game. If we are just some type of temporarily spawn that live on some type of planet that we call Earth, that has no type of source or no type of any type of intellectual power or being. If we're just here to just be here, there has to be an original source for an existence theory. Some people call it evolution. Great, we can go there. Evolution. Even through evolutionary times, even through existence that started through evolution, that starts off with the singular basic cell. There has to be a source after that. Some people may joke, what created the chicken? If the chicken created the egg, what created the chicken? The egg had to come. What came first? Did the egg come first or did the chicken come first? Well, it really doesn't matter. Because in order for the chicken to be even thought of, there has to be some type of original source. Our lives are temporarily on this earth, I think, for a reason. Because the older we get closer and closer to the truth of understanding why we're here. And God wants to remain that, keep it the way it is, in order for us to continue to have faith. Because knowledge is power, and knowledge is very dangerous. So there are some people in this world that become so smart, so intellectually smart. Even in my own college experience, I have sat in with people that thought they knew everything, there was nothing else to learn, and that their life had no point in meaning. There's no point in living like that. There's always a meaning. There's always something to learn. There's always something to experience. Yes, you may know a lot, but you do not know everything. The problem is we have so many intellectual limitations. When we have these intellectual limitations, we tend to just say the basic saying, it's always been this way, it is this way, and will always remain this way. Or it is how it is because my grandfather lived this way, my father lived this way, so I should live this way. The specific classes and ethnic groups of religion gives us certain requirements that we should remain in these requirements, and this is how we should live. People try to tell other people how we should live. And this all contradicts or blinds people of the overall idea of existence. It is all kind of contradicting with one another. Even if we look back in history, if we look back in Greek mythology, if we just pick that, the idea of philosophy. I'm sorry if I'm going everywhere with this topic, but we can go this in so many different areas. But the idea of philosophy, if we start off with just one word, form. The external shape or appearance of an object, form. The external shape of an appearance of an object, form. There are many different forms. There are many different shapes of matter. Well, I'll take that back. Matter cannot be. Matter is not a shape. It just remains the same. Matter. But there are different shapes or forms of many different things. And when we use this in the history of philosophy, it identifies reality itself. A reality that is derived from years from the past of Greek mythology all the way to the great philosophers of Greek mythology or the Greek ideology, Plato, Aristotle, and so forth. Plato, if I'm saying his name wrong, please correct me. But Plato came up with the idea of concept that form has derived in a structure called, you wouldn't believe it, numbers. Yes. Numbers are a simple way or a scale of us understanding what different forms are. Different equations, different solutions, different problems. We easily solve those with numbers. Numbers that help us understand with our simple minds of what is a totally broad subject that is beyond our comprehension. In God's reality, 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. But it's the simplest way of understanding what 2 is. God can define that even deeper into what 1 plus 1 is. And when I'm referencing God, I am saying that there is a higher existent intellectual being that puts everything together. So for those of you who don't believe that there is a God, and you feel offended of me saying that or labeling that as God, you can label it as anything that you want. But we all can agree that there is a higher power and that there is a higher being. And I truly believe that there is a God. But even if you don't want to call it that, just say the original source of existence. So that we know that a small form of reality is put together in our simple mind and concept, and what a Greek philosopher has described it as, put it in a simple structure called numbers. Numbers are used in math and science, even in English, in any subject that we use. Numbers help us give an idea of what material and elements and objects are. The eternal form, the concept of eternal form. So, in other words, numbers do not have an ending. They continue to go forward. It doesn't stop with 10. It doesn't stop with 100. It doesn't stop with 10,000. It keeps going. So just like numbers, it's just like with reality itself. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going. Earth, the existence doesn't start with Earth. There are other existences in other places, in other planets, in other universes, in other galaxies that we cannot even comprehend, to even fathom, to even find. But when it comes to these numbers, and when it comes to these materials, and when it comes to these objects, there is tangible, where there is a higher reality that is beyond our comprehension. So Aristotle, another great philosopher, Aristotle, helped distinguish between matter and form. So when we say the word matter, what is matter? What is that? Many people may have different explanations of what matter is. But matter is simply anything that takes up space and can be weighed. So matter has a volume and a mass. There are different substances of matter, different versions of matter. It's made up of atoms and molecules. Matter is a part of this earth. It can be a solid, a liquid, or a gas. So matter remains the same in all these different forms. But that's just a short answer. There is definitely a more complicated answer to what matter really is. So if that's the case, how can we simplify it to the point that we know ourselves what reality, existence, form, matter, external form, numbers really is? Well, Aristotle tried to distinguish between matter and form and put these things together to create undifferentiated primary elements. What is an element? It's a pure substance. An element is a pure substance that we take through resource. Like, for instance, water. It's a pure substance. Water. Nothing. It's a pure element. So pure elements mean that it's just one original element. Water. So pure substances. When it comes to this, we say that matter, pure substances, elements, forms, many different things exist through acquiring particular forms. So in order for something to be formed, there has to be things that, other forms that create that form. Potential factors that gives the overall existence. The external forms. In order to create an external form, we have to have particular forms. In order for us to have particular forms, we have to have simple, tangible, or concepts of reality. All of these things that I mentioned today may be very confusing, and you have probably gone or probably lost of anything that I just said. But just remember, if you did not take anything that I said today, just remember that all the things that I mentioned before have some type of organization, have some type of arrangement that puts everything and connects everything together. Every system, every ecosystem, everything that creates life has some type of structure. Something had to say elephants are going to do this. Lions are going to do this. Monkeys are going to do this. And there's nothing else they're going to do. A snail is going to do this. A plant is going to grow like this. Something had to say, this is how it's going to be, and this is how I want it. Remember, if I told you that I did not exist, and I have proof of my work, I have already won. If God doesn't exist, if God is just a concept, if God is just a idea, and there is proof of his work, he has already won.